All right, so everything should be in place. If you want to open up the meeting, and hopefully Joanne and Scott can jump in to do a quorum
We do have quorum now.
between you, Scott, and
Yeah.
John, correct?
Okay.
Get three.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the September 11th, 2023 meeting of the Village of Fayetteville Planning Board. Relatively short agenda this evening. First item on the agenda is the Valvoline Instant Oil Change Site Plan Parking Amendment. And with respect to seeker, I'd like to propose the following resolution. The planning board is the lead agency for the uncoordinated review of this application. And based on the proposed improvements, this matter would be considered a type 2 seeker action and requires no further review under part 617 of the seeker regulations. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes, okay. So that, so as far as the parking lot amendment, we have the review letter from Matt Naparella. I guess based on our previous discussions, everything appears to be in order based on our suggestions and Matt's suggestions. I guess, does anybody have any, we have somebody from Valvoline,
Yep, James Smith is the representative who's signed in remotely.
okay, James,
Yes,
do you have anything that you would like to say to the board before we proceed?
no, I just appreciate you guys working with us and going through this process. I know it was long, but it looks like we've got everything cleaned up and what we need to do to get moving. So thank you.
Mhm.
I just sent him a copy of the letter, so he's
Okay.
has that, so he's familiar with Matt's.
Matt's letter,
report.
and no comments on Matt's letter,
No,
okay. Anybody else have any discussion and or proposals that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No right, no effect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had emailed all that information James had sent. Or actually Nitro had sent, so I'm sorry I didn't print out a second copy, but I thought I had given something to.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, we got everything.
You have trouble with my email today.
Oh. I didn't know there was, so.
You want to use mine?
Yes, well, I have it right here.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any,
Yeah, so if you just want to reiterate that we received the no rise letter.
Yep. We,
And what was the other document? I don't know. He's got my file, but
we have the no rise letter, we have the letter from our engineer. And we have a letter from New York State Parks and Recreation Historic.
the State Historic Preservation Office, should
Yeah.
be what they call it,
Yeah.
that there'd be no effect.
Mhm. Is there an adjacent property? Is that why we have that from them?
I think from the original seeker, but they might have notified them just to be
Yeah.
aware because of the general area,
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that they had no concern.
Concerns, okay. So are there any other comments? Does somebody have a motion?
Yeah, no magic words.
Nothing in particular.
Alright, motion.
Kind of sum up what you're improving.
Okay, motion to approve the parking lot expansion. I believe all the changes that we requested were already made and implemented into the most recent plans, so motion to approve it as.
Yes, minutes.
It's the final submitted, yeah.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. So Jim, you are all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Have a good night.
Okay, now moving on to Millbrook property.
All right, so Tracy, you want to introduce what you're planning?
I'm sorry, Scott was calling, I'm not gonna answer. There's one in the middle of
Door
the.
is locked.
Is it
Is
back
it-
door lock?
No, I don't know. This can-
Now it is.
I guess I'm new. My name is Teresa Setter. I'm the president of Millbrook Properties, and my plan is to move my practice on Revitalize. It's located right now across from Wegmans and DeWitt, to the new location on 516 East Genesee Street on the building there. So we're doing some renovations, mostly cosmetic, paint, stone, new roof, and interior, we are doing new cabinetry. And new flooring, new paint, freshening it up, basically. And we're hoping to be moving in in October. We offer dermatology, both medical and aesthetic services there. And we've been, I've been in practice for here in the Syracuse area 12 years.
I guess, yeah, because. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions right now?
So there's another building next door. You guys share the parking lot. Do you know what that?
So
building
there's
next door
the
is?
thing is part of my purchase as well with the property. It's two apartments, one upstairs and one downstairs. Right now it is vacant. There's no one living there. It's unoccupied. And future renovations, which I'll present to you sometime down the line. My priority was the office building, office space. But that will need to be renovated as well to become apartments again or living space. Right now, it's going to start maybe paint to match the other building, but really that's the only plan with it right now.
The reason why I asked, it looks like a shared parking, because I think that there's a.
Correct. Yes, it
I think
is.
the previous owner owned both buildings and. Shared the space or shared the lot as well as the use of the buildings to some degree. And then somehow it changed, but they didn't use it so much for offices and rent, turned it to be a rental. It's on one or both, I'm not sure.
If it was ever used for office space, I do know that most recently it was used as an apartment and one of the employees for the office space lived there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it
That's
is a
prior.
residential business district, so it has that option. And we finished bubbling, we're just beginning to discuss site plan for
Okay.
516.
Curious, how old's that building?
1989, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I didn't,
I
thought it was older.
thought it was.
I didn't do it.
I noticed that, walking by, you had already started work on that
Yes,
and some of the paving.
actually, we did the, there were, when you pulled in, I'm trying to remember the name of it. No, you can help me out. When you first pull in,
Dr. Dickinson's office.
it's a parking lot. When you first pull in, there's a name for the driveway apron.
Curb cut?
No, they used some different name for it, but it was all torn up with potholes.
Right.
And so they just reset that, and the plan is to pave the entire parking lot, not changing the landscape of the parking lot, just recoding it.
So it's just, it's the same
footprint.
size.
Same size,
Same.
same footprint, yeah.
How will you address the curving, the edges, the number of parking spaces, handicap parking?
So we will have, right now, the building itself is not ADA, and I guess that we fall under that same. My plan is to eventually make it ADA accessible. The downstairs, I believe, can fit a wheelchair through. I don't have a lift in there right now, but I would love to in the future possibly add one. I do have a few patients that come in, a handful of patients in wheelchairs.
So how about the parking lot is a state requirement?
Yes.
To have the parking spaces be accommodated
And they definitely will be. We'll have handicap parking
and signage,
and signage as well.
because I know it's just like stuck to a tree right now.
Well, that was pulled up, I think, when they cleared out some of the landscape that had pushed down. So when they pulled out some of the landscaping there, some of the weeds that were going over the parking lot, they just put that sign that had been on the ground right against the tree. But that will all be marked with handicap accessible signs. And right now there's a step into the building, which my plan is to hopefully make some kind of a ramp there.
So do you have a plan of that?
I don't yet. It's not immediately going to happen.
No, I mean of the parking lot before they pave and the striping layout.
I don't have that.
You know how many spaces were there? I guess that's kind of the question, like, how many spaces
I believe
can be,
I believe there were 26 spaces there prior. I don't have someone yet to stripe it. I have someone to pave it, but I don't have someone yet to stripe it.
So do the two lots, are you utilizing both buildings or just
I'm
one?
not utilizing the second building right now. It was set up as an apartment, one upstairs and one downstairs, and I don't have any plans anytime soon to renovate that, just the office space. Aside from just painting it to match the other building.
So is it separate owners, those two?
Same owner.
Same. owner?
Yes, I think right for you, I looked and one of the employees that worked for the previous office lived there. So I guess I don't know what it was used for prior to that, but I know it's separated into two separate apartments currently.
But I mean, two parcels, because it appears to be two parcels.
Two parcels, same owner.
Who owns those?
I own them both now. Yes.
So if you own them both, I was just asking the question because you share a driveway into the two
Yes, we do.
separate lots. If it was two different owners, then you'd have to have some kind of agreement between the two. So if you were selling one.
Nothing to sell and right now not planning to utilize that other building.
Have you put up the sidewalks as well?
Have I pulled them up?
Any walkways? I know the pavement's been removed, but any sidewalks or walkways?
No. No, the only thing that I may change with that is the entryway. Right now, there's a step from the parking lot, about 3 inches, and there's a step into the building, and I'd love to make that ADA. Once I have plans for the ramp or the lift to go into the building. And there is one area where the tree between the two structures is lifting because of the roots, and that will have to be repaired before we occupy.
You mentioned, I think you said 26 spaces, wasn't it?
I believe it is, but I actually don't know because they're really worn off at this point. It's
Is
been
that-
vacant for a couple of years.
Was that including the second lot or just the first lot?
I don't know, but I think it is just the office space lot. I believe there's 4 additional spaces over in front of, or in back of, I should say, the living space apartment.
I want to take a couple steps back if I could just ask, kind of how we got here. What work you were doing before you applied? Was it that Mike, did you see they were doing work and stop in and say, hey, you needed this?
Yeah.
Or, okay,
I didn't know who, I knew it was told, and I didn't know the extent of the work. Typically, if you start to move in.
Yeah.
Other than paint, carpet and cabinets and driveway, some stone under the windows.
okay.
I mentioned needed. So.
But for the change in use, we need a site.
and that's why she's here.
And then, so then it's your notification to say, hey, you need a, okay.
Right.
That's what you change of use, but to establish a new business,
A new
to
business.
ensure that the parameters are within.
For the
code.
same.
Yeah.
So the old use was do we establish that on the record
Oral
yet?
surgery.
There's a guy with a
Surgery,
drill in my
dental
teeth.
office.
I wasn't really pleased with it.
Everyone
And I think
knows
it was referenced on the site plan.
And the,
But the site plan is the survey and interior building plans. It's no actual site plan. It's all. Like,
It was-
am I missing something?
No, because the focus was on the new business
Yes,
and how it was being used.
Or the
We can't
interior.
Not look at whether it needs code, but maybe we should at least state that I would think, right, Ted, if there's not ADA accessibility off of the parking lots and building. Or parking, handicap parking spaces, you can't just overlook that.
That part I can appreciate, but as far as the choice in landscaping, something like that, I don't know.
It says in our code that as far as site plan review, would be the layout plans
Okay,
and the architectural treatment, if you read the code. So, I mean, typically we do look at that. So I think. You know, the frontage is important because it's visible from the main street for sure, and people's health, safety and welfare on the property is because.
Is there a way to get from the sidewalk to the entrance without walking through the parking lot, or you
No.
just?
And also even getting from the street, like we had people like in a village, you like see a sidewalk from the sidewalk to the building.
The entry is on the back, though. There is no.
Yeah, but it's like, just like the dentist over here, you can walk up the sidewalk to down the side, but you can't walk in the front, it's a perceived front. But we still have pedestrian, because we don't want people walking the road or on the driveway to get into the building. Because it is a walkable community, but maybe some of your clientele is not walking, but. We still look for that, but it'd be, this one's tough, you'd have to, if you were walking, you'd have to walk up the driveway.
Or would you just have designed the driveway differently, push it out a bit?
Sure, you would. if
Yeah.
you're doing it from scratch. It's hard to tell from the survey, I mean. They don't mention a lot here.
I see some sort of concrete walk all in the back, but
Yeah,
nothing on the side.
yep, that's the sidewalk from the parking lot into the entrance, but there is a reveal curve there, so, you know, technically, if you're doing this. From scratch today, the building's not accessible, but we have a ramp drop. curve. So it's just hard to address the issues, I guess all we can do is mention them, because we don't have a plan
Mhm.
to.
Well, is that something that we would want to see? Before any more work gets done on the lot?
When you're talking about sidewalk,
No, but like the handicap parking, the layout of spaces, you know, typically you see a plan, at least you get something from a code perspective, make sure they meet the state code for the parking
space and things.
Yeah.
spaces and handicap spaces. And
No.
Those are
potential,
accessible, but
I was reading this.
it's not a change you see there. So inside, is there renovating or altering they can do? Handicap accessible fixtures, doorknobs,
in preparation for the
you know,
future, right?
at least bring that up to the ADA.
Yeah,
Can't
that's,
make them put in a ramp, can't make them put in an elevator, because it's not a change of use.
Mhm.
They're going from a different type of business to a different type of use, and there had to be.
yeah, I'm talking the same thing, like you're striping anyway, you might
Yeah.
as well lay out
Yeah.
the stripes appropriately, that needs to stay code with the 3 signs and all the things we normally would do.
Agreed.
So that in the future, they don't have to redo it.
And the term ADA needs more than a person in a wheelchair.
Right.
Right, there's other uses that,
I even have graspability problems nowadays.
let's see, you're gonna worry about guys like that. Yeah, look at that.
There you go.
So that there are other reasons to have those spaces there, strike, besides just the need for land.
Yeah, and then when you redo the concrete at some point, then I would put the drop curb, because you could, there's room to do it. It's just you'd have to tear out the concrete to do it.
Or even striking off the walkway.
Yeah, you could strike, that's right, you could strike a walkway coming up the part, up the drive, who's wide enough.
did your
I'd say, because that wouldn't cost too much.
Oh,
money,
there.
It's already, it's already striking, might as well work strike off of the place with the code. Walk.
Correct, yeah,
So,
To the extent-
so what we're saying is that when you start to work on the driveway, to be, to recognize, and you can work with Mike as far as, again, what we're looking for to allow the accessibility into from the street into your lot, or from the sidewalk into your lot to your building, that pedestrians can access your building safely.
Okay.
And with the intent of eventually putting in the ramp and putting in the
Yeah.
other things
Is that
as,
something you'd want to see the plan for? Because I actually have someone drawing up the entry to sort of ramp it up to get in there. So as soon as I have that, I can definitely
yes.
provide that.
Mhm.
I just didn't have it yet. And as well as it's the same person that's doing the landscaping.
Mhm.
So I should have that any day now and I can bring that
And you
in.
say they're doing the landscaping, you're doing the plan for the landscape?
Plan for the landscaping.
Okay, okay.
Yes.
So they'll likely show the lot on that. Is the whole parking lot part of that plan?
No, so they do the hardscape and they do landscape, which is plantings. There's someone else that does the parking lot. I'm using the Superior Seal and pave, but they don't line it. They don't do lining,
Mhm.
so I've got to find someone else to do lining.
Right, I just mean for the plan that shows the parking in reference to the plantings, and would it all be on one plan? I don't mean as who's doing it. Okay,
I'm assuming, I haven't received it yet, but I'm assuming it would all be on one plan.
and who's doing that?
Superior Seal and paving.
Do they do plans too? Have you seen?
The
them
landscape.
do-
Landscaping.
Oh, so
Yeah,
landscaping
plan.
is, a second.
But I mean the plan that shows these things.
You will have all that drawn out. Yeah, I just don't have it yet.
I've never known Superior Seal to do.
They do
They
just the
do
paving.
sketches, like a little hand
They,
sketch.
that's what I've
Yeah.
seen,
Mhm.
because they did mine. They did a hand sketch.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, but
I mean, it helps, they have something, but I agree with you, the landscape plan that will come from a landscape contractor, well, it feeds usually a 2-scale drawing with some indication of where the green spaces and what they're planting.
They do the striping to severe.
No.
No.
So before they stripe it, we'll need a plan and make sure they are compliant with.
Sure, absolutely.
And size.
Only speaks about 26.
Well, you can kind of tell, like, if this is accurate, this is like 150 feet, so say they're 10 feet, there's 15 along the side near the cemetery. There's 13 along looks like the entire, well, there's probably 13 here along the back of the 518 building. There's 7 here. So what did I say so far? 15, 13, 7, and this is 5.
35, 40.
So that's what it looks like. You have this sort of, they're angled, so I don't know how accurate it is. It's probably.
I think
pavement's
that's
pretty
about
rough.
right though, because if you said 15 and.
Yeah.
13, so I think 2 of them, I believe 2 of them were handicapped, so it probably left extra space.
Yeah,
And then I believe they didn't have one on the side by Honda. They just had 4 spaces right behind the apartment building.
right. That would be right. That's where it's drawn here.
I think it's a total of 30 that they had there, but it's really worn off, so it's hard to see them.
It seems like probably one and a half. Like 9 chairs.
It's for both buildings then, so it
Right.
depends if it's an apartment or it's a commercial building. So.
But it's
But right
where they're
now-
using, how many parking spaces are required. It sounds like they have
How many
more than.
square feet are
than-
see, it looks like, was that building initially, the second building over, was that built as an office building and it was converted to housing?
No, as far as I know, it's always been residential.
It has, okay.
Apartments.
Who was in there originally before you get this office? I can't remember.
Just somebody got built. Where you can't leave the building without walking around.
I know. It's very-
And they have had a different use than when they were first built, post. I didn't look it up and I don't remember anybody but Dr. Vick is there.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. They appear and research it.
We live there, you. can't even leave.
No. Yeah, there's no way out. Except the parking lot.
There is a door, there is
Mhm.
a front, probably a back door to that building. There is a door, like an exit from that building to
On the
faces
side.
the street, right?
Yeah.
No, there's not.
There's right neither building.
think
There might be a breezeway.
Actually,
I see it.
there is
Oh.
on the apartment building, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
entry
apartment
for-
building's fine.
Yeah.
There is. It's actually covered by that siding. It's a little.
Probably like the back door
strange.
for those apartments kind of, but
And this drops you off like in the grass.
Yeah.
Yes. Now there's a little walkway between the two buildings.
I only noticed because there was a grill out there, like, why does an office building have a grill? That's pretty cool. But I realized that was.
Very,
I would have felt better about parking if it was initially conceived as an office building. Because if that gets converted from resident down the road, whether it's you guys or someone else, just think about the property. If that gets converted, then parking becomes a real. Calculation. Hmm?
So to deal with that, then.
Yeah.
This is just so you know.
I mean, the intent right now is to not even rent that out as apartments.
now.
So
It's gotta
nobody's
be-
in it.
No one's in it and it's gonna need a lot of renovation. So you'll see me back here when we're getting ready to do that. It'll be a little while.
Okay.
So as far as the exterior, she has her drawings for,
The parking lot and the landscaping.
she can submit them just to confirm that.
Yeah.
They're,
talk about the sign yet, or
do you have any other issues as far as how
Yeah,
the
let's-
interior's being used, as
What
far as?
would be the required parking if both buildings were used to their maximum? I don't know how many square feet it is, just so they know, what the options are for that other building.
Figure that out. Get it moved.
Okay. I don't actually know how many square feet it is, because multi-story, can't really tell if it's right over the top.
Mhm.
So you won't have people going upstairs. The building.
The office building? Yes.
You will also-
You know, we have, it's kind of like a split, it's set up like a split level. When you walk in the entry, there's stairs up and stairs down.
So you have handicap go on the first floor again, if there are people that are.
The plan, yes, future plan, if I can add that lift, will be to go to the first floor.
So there are 3 levels.
Two.
Oh, you're
It's a
saying,
split,
you're
so-
saying that no matter what you walk in, you have to go up the stairs
That's
or
correct.
downstairs.
Okay.
That was how I.
Yes.
Yes, you have to go, even if it's in the building, you have to go on the step, curve and then the step. And then once you get inside, you have to go upstairs. So.
Well, how did the dentist handle that?
It was before, it was
Yeah.
before the requirements.
Before anybody was worried about that stuff.
So you couldn't go there if you couldn't do stairs.
Correct. With that, or it got really creative with someone going with you. Or the staff coming out to assist.
Yeah.
They were all on the level. And the new spot. in my side.
Oh.
1990.
According to the code book for
So would it just,
physicians, mental health related professions, 1 parking space for each employee plus 4 additional spaces per practitioner. I don't know how many.
4 additional spaces per practitioner, 3, with 2 providers. And we have a total of 5 employees. I have a total of 5 employees, there's 6 of us total.
So we just say here it is.
So put 1 for each employee, so there was 5 employees. And there's 2, 3 practitioners total.
2,
Just-
one is leaving, yeah.
Okay,
So
so
2.
4 spaces per times 2 would be 8. So 13 spaces.
And they have. what,
Yes.
Yeah.
okay, so they could, so it's
So you,
lot 2 want to try to borrow some spaces. On, I'm sure they said here, but accommodate them.
Yeah, so that kind of assures, I think they have enough for what they're working with.
Mhm. The. Site plan. Any other issues with the site plan?
what about the lighting? parking lot lighting and building lighting, it's being that it's practicing the
Mhm.
backside. of the
Yeah.
Residential.
So there are 2 floodlights on the back where the entry is and 2 on the side that's been in place. We didn't change those.
Would we read
And then that's the plan, yes. And then also we're going to put some landscape lighting in too. But that I don't think will provide much parking lot lighting.
So
I think
no,
it's just the floodlights that are
or
going
no
to
parking lot lights.
What's your dial difference?
from
Oh,
7 to 5.
Just 5, sometimes 6. Wednesdays.
Wednesdays and Thursdays, sometimes further until 6.
We have a facility now.
Yes. Right across from Wegmans. Duet. I've always rented before, never owned the premises, so this is a new venture. Congratulations. Yes, thank you.
So the lights that shine out towards, out on the parking lot, the back of the building, thinking about, as if I was
Residential,
one of those residences. back.
absolutely.
So those are existing lights,
Those are existing.
so any plan to upgrade them?
Yeah, I definitely could, for sure. I honestly haven't even turned them on yet or seen it at night yet. But yeah, the plan would be to have them, excuse me, time off when our business hours end.
And you can
So-
also get ones that have a shield so that it doesn't
exactly
sort of light.
Doesn't project over.
There's the plaza that's across from you guys. I see that from my bedroom window.
Oh, do you do it?
The spot, that light that's always,
Not the lights,
always
gotta be
on.
pretty good.
no, the back of
We
this
could
plaza,
see it.
it's a wall pack, and they're wall packs, but they don't have shields on. So you just want to, unless you want to meet your neighbors abruptly after you change your lights, I highly advise if you do
Shields on.
that, get shields on.
Good point.
It's one of those things that I'd like to see as part.
And
of this.
we haven't had any existing issues with neighbors complaining about the parking lot.
Was also.
Nothing about the
full
lighting. I don't know
back
if it's been utilized much, but. No,
How
I-
long's he been out of there?
over a year at least, but I don't know, it might be longer.
Yeah.
But even when it was in practice, I don't recall having any calls on it.
You're down at 5 o'clock.
I would imagine
5 to 6.
It's a pretty good layer of trees there too, I think.
If you go to that-
that it may change what people see now, because if there are less. The lighting that was there before might be more evident to them, so it's
Yes.
something to keep in mind.
Right, true. Just the brush on the back end, and then there's that front group of trees that we cut down. That were really overgrown onto the parking lot, so Superior Paving requested we kind of clear it right to the edge,
Mhm.
so they can pave it easily.
Right.
But aside from that, no, there was one by the house that was kind of, the roots were encroaching, but it was not along that back.
I'm more worried about the neighbors in the back.
Yeah. yeah, it
What
was
they've
very
seen for the
dangerous.
past year, which they'll perceive as the way it should be regardless.
Anything else with regard to site?
I mean, I like the idea of the lights turning off at close of business,
Yeah.
on and off at business hours.
Well, I mean, realistically, it's gonna be a little bit
Yeah.
before and later. Make sure the employees
Oh, yeah.
can
It's like,
get
6
there.
o'clock and it's like, they're walking out at 6:15. It's just like.
Well, and in central New York, but in the dead of winter, 5 p.m.
It's dark.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's dark at that point. A little bit of snow, it's even worse. So you gotta have something. If you ever move, if you do the renovations in that apartment building, you'll want there to be some lights on that until a little bit later.
People aren't really complaining about lights until close to 8 o'clock. Inside doing something, so right. 6 is like a good part.
Okay, so with respect to seeker, I'd like to propose the following resolution. The planning board is the lead agency for the uncoordinated review of this application. Based on the proposed improvements, this matter would be considered a type 2 seeker action and requires no further review under part 617 of the seeker regulations.
For a second.
Is there a second for that?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. With regard to site plan, does somebody have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the site plan application before us, with a couple of caveats. We talked a lot about things that we could potentially do, but we don't have a plan to show that. So prior to paving, you might have some kind of sketch or site plan for the parking lot asphalt or ceiling work and striping to verify the accessibility. We'd also like to have an opportunity to comment on the landscape plan, which would include potential future walkways and handicap accessible access as well. Also, if the lighting is to be replaced, the lighting, you would consider shields and even, check what's there now to make sure it's acceptable. So you probably want new ones that.
There's not a shield on there now, I know that, but they can easily be replaced.
Okay, and it's our understanding there's no freestanding parking lot lighting. Just wall packs. And landscape lighting would be acceptable as well on the I would say the Route 5 side, not in the rear yard.
Mhm.
Did I miss anything?
My second, but I just have one question. So I'm noticing that, I noticed that there's.
Yeah,
lights.
signage and lights, yeah, signage and building lighting is not included in this application as we have before us, even though
So
the
she did-
record shows it, right?
She did give us a sign.
So the
Oh, you
site.
have it
the
now?
sign-
Yeah.
Yeah, I did added that.
So we'll do that next.
So
Yeah.
The
these
lighting-
lights are not
But
part of
those
this.
two
No.
lights are part of the signage. correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right, then I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on to the signage. So do we know the letter height,
It's 12-inch letters.
Okay.
Excuse me, and
the
also,
the revitalized
Yes.
is 12 inch?
yes,
And
And
it's-
Kind of.
on.
that is entirely too small.
Really
That's
small.
It says 3.54 for the smaller lettering underneath.
Mhm.
But the other ones, the other letters for revitalize are 12-inch. The overall height of the sign is 24 inches. The overall width. I didn't keep a copy for myself, I believe it's 116 inches. The icon logo is 12 inches. Thank you.
So
There's no.
So-
Sign to be seen out here.
is the blue box?
No, that's not part of
That's
it.
not part,
No,
nothing here.
they're
So
actually
it's
just acrylic letters.
Just
that
the
are-
letters going
That
against the
are
building.
applied,
So
that apply to the building.
Yes, he's called them stud mounted.
Yes. Yeah.
They're applied, but there's no box behind it. And actually, the building looks blue on this paper,
Yeah.
but
that's
it's,
why I didn't-
it's actually gray. So the lettering is the same color as the trim, the grayish color, and the only color that's included there is the little icon logo,
Which is 12 by 12.
12.
And then the lighting is like is that a gooseneck type
Gooseneck,
lighting?
and they're not white, although they appear, that's the way they drew them on here. And I was thinking probably copper, I think would go along with the face of that building now with the brown stone. But I haven't chosen those lights yet.
But those are lights, that's the type of illumination you're choosing for the signage, because we don't.
I think
do
it's a lot.
backlight. Yeah. it's
Right.
a-
Right, there's no backlighting to it. It would just be the two illuminating onto the sign.
Did you rules about on and off tonight for the, I mean, I'm probably not during the daytime, but what's the rules about lighting or something?
I don't think there is,
Yeah, they can be on.
I don't think there's any regulations to have any focus lights on
Yeah,
timers, but I know you were thinking of doing
Yeah.
so, but there's.
I don't think it's a bad.
Well,
thing,
mainly the
though,
flood,
because
floodlighting for sure.
If they're all tied in.
Yeah, I mean, that's, it's,
Yeah, I don't.
it's definitely better.
Tied into the floodlighting.
I don't know.
But also like the.
It's actually in
I
front
think you want them
Given it's a
separate.
nice.
of the building, it's actually.
Yeah, it's a nice one.
Yeah,
So it's actually probably.
yeah, so I think if you left them on, it's not a problem.
But they're across from the law office, right? Of
Yep,
Dickinson
Yeah.
and Joseph.
Frank Jones,
Does anybody live in this building or is it just law office? Is it a little?
as far as I know, it's an office.
Okay,
It's
it's
just
like half like residential.
Yeah.
So you would be able to, like, if there was a light on it.
No, and I mean, the Route 5 lights are there, so it's not a dark street, so
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah, and it's the front of the building, so.
That's why just
Mhm.
keeping the back dark is the best, because we got residential behind.
That's so.
We have a proposal.
Well, let me just ask one question. It says 12 by 12, but, or I heard 12 by 12, but I see 12.45. Probably.
I don't know how, because it's a circle. I don't know how they came up
Are they
with that.
measuring? Yeah.
Maybe they dropped it, it's flat.
That's a great point, but
They're just sitting there in the presentation.
I'm assuming that it actually is.
we'll make sure it's no more than 12 by 12, for sure.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve the signage. The way it was presented
With the
with the logo being no more than 12 by 12 and not dropped.
Very good. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good luck.
Everything,
Thank you.
good luck with this.
Thank you. With the additional plans that I received, because I should have those sometime either this week or early next week. Can I bring them in sooner? Do I have to wait till the next meeting?
If you can submit them to me electronically or
I can.
hard copies of both, ideally. I'll make sure that they receive them and if there's any comments, let you know.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
And Mike can review and make sure everything.
Yeah. It'll go to Mike as much as the board, but he'll be able to speak on it.
Mhm.
Especially the parking, he'll want to make sure that you're squarely on it.
You might need to. For lining. Oh, yeah. Your father used to do lining of parking lots for a long time. Several years.
Oh, good. So is connections.
Thank you so much.
Thank
You're
you very
welcome.
much.
Good luck with everything.
Good evening. Thanks for so being in touch. Yeah. You have, do you have a line on there? Oh, okay. We're just gonna ask. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, so as far as the minutes, I think you're going in. I did make note. They haven't made any final changes other than the typos.
Let's see which way.
No, it was the one before I get the copy and paste.
So I was like,
I thought I had gone through it.
The only thing I have is where he says lots 19 and 20 most likely will remember. I thought it was they will remain for everyone. I didn't think that it was a up in the air.
I think we didn't. I'd have to listen to it again. He worded it in such a way
It was-
that that he didn't have any intent to develop them because they were not cost effective to develop.
Right, but.
yeah, but they
5
are
years.
developable lots.
Yeah.
So he may have sent that, but they are.
And that's how he worded it. I don't think it's been deemed or
Okay,
dictated
So
that
maybe
that
just say it was a comment or something, I guess, right? Because if you want. to
Exactly.
develop them down
to
the
say
road, we
that
don't
he
want-
commented. Okay,
Well, I guess it's because we asked him, what are you doing? Right, and that's how it came.
Mhm.
maybe I
wondered
took
if
that
those
comment
two-
as they are going to be for a while. But,
at this point, yes.
yeah.
Or they
I'll
want to
just
spend any
indicate
money.
he replied.
No.
They're not
At
being
this point, but in
developed.
10 years,
Yeah.
property values are
Developed.
ideally significantly more for all of us. That might become what he sees then as squeeze something into it.
Yeah.
I like that comment to say it is.
But they most likely remain forever wild at this time as they are not cost effective to develop. Okay. And then the following line, Joanne questioned. It was too vague about the street trees could be a possibility to complete the corner area.
How do we
There was
say
a conversation about it.
we
there was
asked
nothing-
about
Dictating or indicating that there was a requirement. I think if you asked simply what they were
planning?
planning to do, and if this would be an opportunity, and I could use that word, to put street trees. The trees, whether it was at their fence, or if it was something, the village could plant.
Yeah,
street.
thought it
but
was
if
definitely
it
the
was in the village right of way, then that's what I was thinking is like. if
That it
it's
was
in
the
village
opportunity for
right of
street
way, We should make
trees,
sure we tell, I think I said something like that,
Yeah.
should go back to the board that when they're doing their spring or fall trees.
Yeah,
But, but I mean, technically, they were supposed to come back to us, right? That's how this goes. They have this big subdivision plan. If they're making changes, they're supposed to come back to us. I'm trying to remember, did we originally have, it's been so long now, like a street tree planting with it or anything that went with the original plans? I can't
never
remember.
pre-treats, because there really wasn't much of
I
a,
can't remember.
there really wasn't much of like right of ways
It's a
and sightline that would allow for anything.
Well, there was a concept plan and architectural character.
Right,
that they were
but as far as
supposed to
street
stick
tree-
with, which they never did.
And with that plan, there was
Landscaping
hard
was
stop.
part of it.
That was a hard
It was,
intersection.
yeah, it was
So
purposeful.
that would make sense that it was landscape on that.
No,
plan.
there was supposed to be, it was supposed to be,
They
they were
bring
planning
it
to build
a
out
T.
to it. It was going to be squared out and there was going to be another set of houses there, which they have since reduced. So there was never a plan for landscaping in any of the right of ways around there because there really wasn't a place for it.
Well, I'm talking about really on their property because we are responsible for the right of ways. But in those original plans, like when they first started, and it could be too far back, I mean, they showed where the green space was, where people maintained to, where the homeowners association
They're
was.
building
But I don't know, they were supposed to come back to us with like the character, they never did, but
I
That was-
feel like there was something, but you're right, it's changed a little
Yeah.
bit since then.
yeah, I just asked the question, I think we should just say that, like you said. You suggest or recommend putting vegetation, because that's a very odd corner. It really
It
is,
is now.
yeah, I mean, I think the master plan called for it to be a T's intersection, that's why, I don't know. how
But there
that
was gonna be
changed,
more,
but I
there
don't
wasn't
think the
gonna be as
village
much of a
wanted to
green
do it.
space there. They couldn't, it's just, as
Yeah,
we're not able to do it.
remember,
Crosswise,
There's, I think, a number of reasons, so it will not be squared out.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't care, I'm just, whatever you guys wanna say, it's just, I think when you go back, like this bites us all the time, when you go back to review your meeting minutes and you're like, wasn't that in there? And it's not there, or it's unclear. That's all.
Need to have a master plan picture on a wall, so you can always. refer
Yeah,
to it.
It's kind of true, and
Back
there's,
5 years, this is what we approved
It's-
architecturally and.
you're right,
Has it been 5 years?
it's been longer, I think.
yeah, way longer.
Probably
It's been
7 or 8.
longer than anything older,
I think that was the first one that I was involved in.
wasn't
And I came in at the end of it.
12 or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do we have the technology to be able to pull up an old plan from your files on that TV in a meeting kind of thing?
In the future, I'd have to
Yeah.
plan for it because I don't have access to it on this
Get it
computer.
out of the-
Okay.
I
Probably have
have,
to scan everything.
I have electronic files, I just don't have them accessible, like on a public drive or,
Okay,
You'd
I'd have to
like take them
plan.
out of an archive or something.
yeah,
Well,
hopefully,
yes.
something, we didn't always have digital copies in the beginning.
that's just like when things come back like this. Or a project that is, say, Shadow comes back with that plan or another version of it to be able to
To
look back
verify.
versus like having the book here again. Just be able to pick it up and look at it on the TV.
Yeah.
You have all your planning board files at home.
Pathetically, yes.
They're just in a
In
giant,
order.
they're in a giant, it looks like back there. Who's new office
That's
is
pretty good.
Yeah, I know, that's pretty
It's Karen's
organized.
I cleaned it up because I was having guests here today. It has been for the past couple of weeks, we're redoing,
Oh my
so that's why we were trying to figure out how this was gonna work tonight.
Yeah, you did a good job. Squeeze it all together.
So is there any changing to the wording of this, what it is?
You gonna change it?
I mean, based on the fact that. Based on the fact that we're not teeing it off. And that they eliminated. Those
Units.
units,
Seems like the village can put trees in the right of them.
Would it be a sightline issue?
A lot of infrastructure there too.
Yeah.
Underneath.
Mhm.
Like I said, it's a suggestion, but it's a, if there's an opportunity. I
Yeah,
don't know if we
so
need
I
to put
guess
that
just
word
leave
in.
it like that, say it's an opportunity for the homeowner. For the developer to put in.
Yeah, because it would be part of
vegetation on
their
the
common
corner.
area. It's not part of,
Right.
'cause those are
It's part of-
footprints are
it's-
building footprints. There's no-
Yeah, so that's
Property
outside
around
of their property, so it'd be the developer, an opportunity for the developer to. Improve. So, because you did mention that it gives more green space, so you can improve the green space with some trees on that property.
that street trees could be opportunity to improve the corner green space.
Yeah.
We need to review that.
My biggest
Trust
concern
me,
at the time
I
is
just
that
wrote
just
it
ended
down.
up as a giant pile of dirt that
No,
was on
it's-
landscape.
Plan that goes that you.
Oh.
Yeah. Karen, come on.
It's not that big.
Not tonight, anyway.
So do we approve these edits?
Yeah,
Yes.
make a motion.
Could I have a motion?
To approve the meeting minutes subject to the edits.
Done. Okay, second, but Joy, thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
I actually thought I was going to, I didn't realize this earlier today. Splash Car Wash had called me because they advised me they had acquired the building now behind it. Not the large one, but what used to be Talbot's building. So they have, are in the process of revising the plan where it slightly changes the driveway. Check in a little bit area, like it opens it up a little bit more because
Cars were parking inside.
yeah.
The bucks started all over.
There's a smaller building off of Thompson Street. Behind the office building.
Yeah,
Is that the one that,
it's a little tiny office.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just a little red concrete block building. But, so I thought actually, I had totally forgotten about it because I haven't received anything, but they recognized enough to let us know that there is a change. They were hoping. I don't think it changes their approval, but they certainly wanted you to be aware, and I said, yes, the planning board would like to see this modification and ensure that everything's in place. They decided to make the changes because now that they were able to get the space and having learned from other properties they developed, it would be in their best interest to open this area a little bit or offer a little bit more turnaround in the space. I think it's where the cashiers are set up, where they go through as they're coming in towards
Yeah,
that end.
they had it complicated by putting those employee spaces along the driveway because they were inside the flood zone.
Mm.
So that's probably what they want.
So, yeah, so I just wanted to give you a heads up that
Is that
I
flood
anticipate.
zone too?
they could also clean up their trash,
Okay,
because they have the dumpster right at the front.
Entire
That'd be a good spot. Cause I know this,
Stuff, yeah.
this brick building, wasn't that,
Bollinger?
Tom
Yes,
Talbot owns it.
Bollinger.
No, Bollinger's across the street.
Yeah, there was a.
Tom Talbot.
Okay.
So, so I just wanted to give you a heads up that I may be getting something soon and I would certainly pass that along.
Changes to that.
Like,
Yeah.
they are in the process of finalizing closing purchases of everything. And, so hopefully with that, they'll be starting.
So we'd be happy, but you're still gonna have to figure out all your floodplain issues all
Is
over.
there no rise?
Well,
that could affect it?
That's what we'll look at. I'll have Mike look at it when it comes in. I don't believe it'll affect any of that, but it's not my call. We'll certainly take a look to see how much of a change it is.
Mhm.
And, is it Matt? I'm not sure who's reviewing it.
I mean, even if
We can have them take a look at it.
Pretty
even
drastic.
if it moves it only an inch,
When
it's not like still,
space being opened up.
like if the parking lot gets bigger by an inch, so they have to go to like two different people.
That's what I gotta see what they've changed and have Mike and,
I fully
Angie
expect that
look at it.
nothing will ever be built on Apple House.
It's the
Which is the
No,
floodplain.
because not everything is settled
DOT
on that.
triangle.
There's an appeal that still needs to
Everything that's
be.
involved with it. It's
So-
been going on for,
Or is it just?
Decade.
Because I mean, I'll be still.
yeah, I think so. Karen?
Welcome to adjourn the meeting.
Okay, yeah, can we shut the camera off so we can?
Well, I'm waiting for you guys to adjourn. Are we?
So I can speak the way that I normally speak, like somebody.